Trump is president again. For his supporters, it's a victory over corruption, over the establishment. For his critics, it's evidence that the system isn't just broken, it's beyond repair. That accountability is dead, and the public's tolerance for scandal is limitless if the right person is selling the story. But amid the noise of wars, inflation, protests, culture wars, and courtroom dramas, there's a quieter shadow hanging over this presidency. A shadow with a name. Jeffrey Epstein, lingering, like smoke from a fire everyone claims has gone out. A whisper, a question, a connection that never fully disappears. Why? Because Epstein was never just a man. He was a symptom of how wealth, influence, and secrecy can operate in ways that shield the powerful and leave the public with more questions than answers. And at the periphery of that world, whether he wants it remembered or not, stands Donald Trump. Before we go further, if you value this kind of analysis, if you want content that cuts through noise to trace how power actually works, hit subscribe now, not later. These are the stories most people don't want told. Back to the story. This isn't conspiracy. This isn't speculation. It's documented fact. Trump and Epstein moved in the same circles for years. Manhattan, Palm Beach, Mar-a-Lago, parties, fundraisers, private clubs, photographs, quotes. Shared company. Trump once said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He likes beautiful women as much as I do. Many of them on the younger side." Later, when Epstein's crimes became public, Trump claimed he distanced himself and said Epstein was no longer welcome at Mar-a-Lago. The timelines are murky, the statements shift, but the connection lingers. Trump was never charged. Never accused directly by Epstein's victims, but proximity matters. Proximity reveals who had access, who shared space in the rooms where influence was traded, where reputations were burnished, where consequences seemed far away. And proximity to Epstein wasn't unique to Trump. Clinton, Prince Andrew, Gates, Wexner, many moved within those same circles. What ties these figures together isn't shared wrongdoing. It's shared access to a system built on privilege and protection. Here's where this gets uncomfortable. Proximity is rarely an accident. In these worlds, access isn't coincidence, it's currency. To understand how we got here, we need to go back. Not just to the headlines of today, but to the culture of yesterday. The 1980s and 1990s were a golden era for men like Trump and Epstein. Wealth louder than accountability, scandal often buried beneath connections, money, and media control. Trump's brand was excess. Towers, casinos, beauty pageants, television. Epstein's was discretion, finance, connections, leverage. Both thrived within the same exclusive ecosystems. In these worlds, introductions matter. Reputation is currency. Access buys influence. Trump and Epstein didn't need to be close friends. They shared spaces. They shared contacts. They existed within the same system, one that often operates by its own rules. There are public accounts of Epstein at Mar-a-Lago, of parties where young women were present, of an alleged incident after which Epstein was no longer welcome at Trump's club. And yet until the arrests, until the headlines, silence reigned. Because in these circles, silence often serves as protection, not necessarily because of guilt, but because of shared interests in maintaining status, privacy, and reputation. Here's the part no one wants to say out loud. These systems aren't about individuals, they're about survival. Virginia Giuffre's name reminds us of that reality. For years, she fought against Epstein's empire of abuse. She named powerful men in lawsuits. Trump was not among them. She publicly stated Trump never harmed her. That fact matters and deserves to be remembered. Virginia Giuffre is gone, found dead earlier this year. Police called it non-suspicious. But in stories like this, what does that even mean? Her passing marks the end of a long and very public fight against the powerful figures tied to Jeffrey Epstein's network. For many, it's a reminder of the toll these battles take on survivors, and how exhausting it is to demand accountability from systems built to deny it. Her passing isn't just the end of her story, it symbolizes how the weight of these battles wears people down, while the systems they fight remain intact, unchanged, and protected. Because Epstein's world wasn't about isolated crimes, it was about leverage, Influence. Relationships built on maintaining power, not exposing it. Trump's continued rise within this world isn't about shared wrongdoing. It's about surviving within the same structures that insulate the wealthy and powerful from lasting consequence. Bill Clinton stepped away from scrutiny. Prince Andrew avoided prosecution. Les Wexner's legacy continues. And Trump, re-elected, still shaping America's future. Proof that public survival in politics isn't about innocence. It's about resilience, perception, and mastering how to outlast scandal fatigue. When Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, Trump's public comments weren't accusations. He simply wished her well. An odd choice, some thought, unless you understand the culture of neutrality that often defines these circles. Public attacks risk exposure. Silence or polite distance keeps options open. This isn't unique to Trump, it's a broader pattern, a playbook of survival. Distance yourself when convenient, deny involvement, wait out the storm. Because the system isn't built to punish the powerful, it's built to preserve itself. Today, Epstein is gone. His closest associates remain largely untouched. The broader system that enabled his behavior? It remains, it adapts, it survives. Trump's presidency is proof of that, not because of criminality, because of how influence, wealth, and survival tactics continue to work. But here's the twist. This was never just about Epstein, or Trump, or even America. The Epstein story was never just about one man's crimes. It was about how those crimes were shielded, how networks of influence operate, how accountability fades under pressure. The media moves on, the public forgets. History gets rewritten by those still in power. Trump didn't break this system, he navigated it. His return to power isn't accidental. It's the predictable outcome of structures where wealth and influence shape outcomes more than outrage ever could. There's a reason this story feels familiar, because it is. Not just now, not just in America, throughout history. The powerful have always protected themselves. Influence has always bought silence. Those closest to scandal have always outlasted it, not because they're innocent, but because they understand the machinery better than their critics do. This isn't new. It isn't shocking to those who study history. Whether it's the court of Versailles or the corridors of Washington, D.C., whether it's Roman emperors or Silicon Valley billionaires, the pattern remains the same. Power protects itself. It always has. It always will. Epstein wasn't new. Trump isn't new. What's new is our visibility of these patterns. The media has changed. Information travels faster, leaks more easily. Outrage feels more immediate, more accessible. But if anything, that's made the system stronger, not weaker. Because modern power has learned how to use outrage as insulation, how to turn scandal into spectacle, how to exploit attention spans so short that no outrage lasts long enough to become consequence. We think exposure is the end. But for the powerful, exposure is just the start of a negotiation. That's the lesson history teaches. Every era has its scandals. But what matters is whether those scandals change systems or simply reinforce them. In most cases, the system wins. Not because it's moral, not because it's just, but because it's adaptable. It absorbs criticism, deflects blame, and waits out the storm. These systems don't collapse under pressure. They evolve. They turn public anger into fuel for political loyalty. They turn controversy into headlines, headlines into debates, debates into distractions, until the public moves on. The danger isn't outrage. The danger is exhaustion. And the system knows how to wait for exhaustion better than we do. Understanding this isn't defeatism, it's clarity. Clarity about where power resides, about how stories get written, about why change is slow, and why survival within these systems doesn't make someone exceptional. It makes them practiced, protected, fortunate to be standing on the right side of influence. Trump's presidency isn't the cause, it's a symptom. The cause is deeper, older, institutional, built into the DNA of politics, business, media, and human behavior. Until more people understand that, the cycle continues. Scandal, outrage, fatigue, silence, repeat. So what's the point of this story? Why trace these patterns if the outcome seems inevitable? Because knowledge is armor. understanding is power. Not against Trump, not against Epstein, but against future iterations of the same machinery wearing new faces. These systems rely on ignorance, on distraction, on a public too weary or too divided to see the architecture clearly. Your skepticism matters. Your refusal to look away matters. Because the more people recognize these patterns, the harder it becomes for those in power to run them unchecked. Outrage burns out. Outrage is loud but short-lived. But understanding endures. Understanding turns spectacle into context. It turns anger into vigilance. It turns confusion into clarity. And clarity is dangerous, not to you, but to them. They don't fear outrage, they fear understanding. And now you understand. If this video has made you think differently about power, about accountability, about how stories are told and how they're buried, then this channel is for you. We're not here to shout, we're not here to sensationalize. We're here to ask the questions that don't go away, to trace patterns others ignore, to follow facts, even when the answers are uncomfortable. If you value that, if you want more videos that cut through noise to examine how influence really works, subscribe now. Don't wait.